Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Alliance of Performance Shop, Lone Star Mopars.com. We're back, just wrapped up another Koken tool haul. We brought in the 3/8 SAE nut grip, which they, of course, right as they came in, announced that you could buy them individually. We picked up some 12-point shallow, some 12-point semi-deep railed sets, 1/4 to 3/4, and grabbed a keychain, grabbed a shirt, grabbed that orange reversible stubby screwdriver up there. And if you were sitting here and you're thinking like, man, you know, you said everything tied in and you got extensions and ratchets and some sockets up there, I don't know what those are, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening. Well, that's what we're going to do, but first, I told you, promised you we'd take a look at these because I didn't grab them. This is the SAE nut grip 1/4 drive, the first thing that they offered, and it runs 1/4, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, and half. So in terms of your overlap, they're all accounted for, right? These bottom 5 sizes, 1/4, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, and half. Therefore, my advice for you, what would I suggest that you do? It depends what drive size you use, if you're using these as like a nut driver, or if it's more of like a socket-based setup, and make your choice on that front. Technically, if I'm thinking back right, these were 65 when they launched them, this being like 133. You get the same sizes, these 5 sizes, just in 3/8, and then you just step up. You have 9/16, which is super useful. I would love to see 9/16 and 1/4 drive. I wouldn't ask for anything past that. 9/16 though, giving me the ability to turn 3/8 hardware with smaller profile would be thumbs up. And then 5/8, 11/16, and 3/4. So as we demonstrated, despite not having half 13 rod up here, it just drops in, holds it, and essentially you just have to decide, like, do you want to save money and have sort of like a 1/4 drive setup, or do you want to like double the set and come in and have 3/8 drive capacity? There are 3/8 spinner handles. There's not near as many 3/8 spinners as there are 1/4, so keep that in mind. But that's kind of where it stands. So your small 5 is going to transfer over and be accounted for on the 3/8 drive side of things. Now, speaking of 3/8 drive, that's kind of what we will be dealing with here, and I guess we should just throw down, well, not necessarily the big item, but the most spaced item, I guess. And if you think like, wait, this is open, that's 1/4 drive, clearly this you've shown us this. Absolutely, I did. This is the Wobble-Fix. Again, I liked those extensions so well. These 3 over here being the ones that I bought, I got these and then like a really long 1/4 one, and I love them so well. I like the wobble functionality, I like how easy it is to fix them, I like the knurling on the end, I like the finish on them, they're lightweight, they've been strong. I've torqued a few of them pretty good with no issues. And it was a situation, especially with a 1/4, where that's the only one that I had. I thought, yeah, this is justifiable. I think you're looking at $99 for this set. And if you were unaware, you know, like on Koken's website, they've done a better job now of highlighting the other colors. Used to, it was like hidden in a drop-down arrow, and people would just assume you got like the default red. You can get gray, you can get yellow, I think yellow, you can get green, which looks really good, and you can get blue. No orange, sadly. We might have kitted one out like that. When we showcased this, a lot of you said, man, this is really nice, but it's a lot of wasted space. Totally agree. I would like to see it compacted quite a bit more myself. This is awesome. It looks great, you know, if you didn't have like a lot of space you're needing to consume. But it's a situation, it could be done way more efficiently. Maybe that's something they will do in the future. Now, moving forward, and speaking of the future, I like them so well, and right about the time that came in, just like I told you how they made the nut grips standalone, well, they said we're going to sell the 3/8 as well. If you're wondering, around the time this came in and they announced the standalone nut grips, they are also, I think, going to do the 1/2" drive foam set. So the reason I'm laying this out, number one, we got some really cool big stickers. You kind of get these with like bigger purchase items usually. We got the thank you card, which is a nice touch. And then we got this, and if you look at it, I can set this 1/4 drive on top. Some people are going to love this, some of you will hate it, but it takes up the exact same space. It is the exact same profile. The fancy, easy to see YouTube tape measures over there, so we're going to call that just shy of 15. We're going to call that about 5 inches exactly, and then your side profile is going to be, what, 1 1/8 inches, somewhere in there. that kind of gives you an idea of what to expect. These could easily consume like your thin side drawers. If you want to do that, you could also run them in series. One thing I've thought about, aside from, you know, like people mentioned, it's not being as efficient as it could be. For the guy, let's say that you're going to put this in a thin side drawer, okay? It would be cool if the Koken logo, I love it being there, but it would be nice if it was like printed here or printed there, you know, kind of where you could flip it, you know, 90 degrees and kind of have it just for branding and aesthetic purposes, right? But we need to now cut this thing up, and you want to proceed carefully. You don't want to trash your brand new foamed extension set. And by trash it, I mean cut the foam, because then it wouldn't look near as cool. Cool thing here, we also get this like special sticker that you don't typically see if you're a sticker person or you like the exotic ones that you don't see as often. Well, this one's got you covered. You got quality Koken tools. And quality, of course, mirrored on the other side for symmetry, which is something I appreciate. Now, this one's got a slightly different layout. Some of you will recall I was really sad when we got the quarter because I didn't think I had the stubby one. And then when we opened it up and we took that like sticker packing, there she was. So you got 3 pieces, and 7 total pieces. If we come in and we count this one, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 5 across the bottom, 2 across the top. Get started. The knurling on this one is sweet. It's so good. I think this is going to be a 32. Now, if you're curious how this works, well, let's come in and just grab our 9/16 nut grip, 3/8 drive, of course. Put it in here. And this is just a standard extension, right? I can come in and I could use this in tight spaces. Now, what if it's a flex? I can pull this out a little, and we get about 15 degrees. Sometimes it seems like more than that to me, but it comes in super handy. I've loved them since I've had them. That's why I continue to buy these. And, if you're sitting here and you're thinking like, man, you know, you had 3 of those, what's the deal? I've done the math. If I were to take the 3 that I hand-picked, right, which would be this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and come in and purchase the stubby, this other shorter option, and the long one, I'm basically spending about the same amount of money as getting the foam set. So my logic was, get the foam set, and I have these 3 that I can have standalone or located elsewhere. Currently, I still have these in the Master Tech, the quarter drive set. I've gotten one of the blue US Generals. Case in point, I guess we'll just pull each one of these. So we had a 32. What is this going to be, like a 50? Yeah, this is 50 millimeters. It's sad when I can guess metric sizes, isn't it? They drop in really nice. I'm guessing this is a 75. Yep, 75. Again, you can kind of orient these however you want to. The Koken, in this case, lines up with the size. This one right here, if you're thinking, hey, that kind of looks like a driver, it's 125. If we come in here and grab this one, it's going to be a 150. So basically your 6-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch. Here, we're going to pull this one out, and we have got a really nice 250, which again, that's going to be super useful. And then we've got one that's even slightly longer. And it is going to be the 300 millimeter. Now, I know that's hard to see. If you can kind of pick up on it, it's a little glossy, but you got Koken 3673-300. So that is a 7-piece foamed extension set, 99 bucks. I don't really think you can go wrong with those. It's got the same form factor. I'm assuming the 1/2-inch should, assuming they keep the same sizes. Now, if they bump up your 300 and go a little bit bigger, it would obviously have to change. But as long as it's 300, it's good to go. I will say this, putting these two unwrapped together, given the fact that this takes up more of the foam, it's better use of the space versus our quarter drive. They look great. I wouldn't change anything personally, but again, if we're talking max space savings, we can lop some material off here, we can bring them in, we could change the configurations a little, but I've got a phone call, so I will be right back. Alright, sorry about that, but I think we covered everything here. I believe I was just saying this is a slightly more efficient use. It could still be improved, but for the fact that it matches the quarter for a lot of people, we can then line them up in the drawer and it's going to look great. So it could go either way, kind of a catch-22, I suppose. Keep in mind, If you want the extensions and you don't like the foam, or you hate the way they've done the foam, or they don't have your ideal color, you can absolutely buy the extensions yourself, standalone, just the sizes you want. And you can kind of foam your own set, or put them on a rail, throw them in a drawer, an Ernst tray, whatever works for you will be more than adequate. Now, that said, I guess we should come into what was our second most expensive item from these two hauls, but not the biggest because of that, but we'll tie in with some of the items that you've seen over here, and that is going to be this item, which is on another sheet of paper. Oh boy. Over here, it's gonna set you back $130.24, so slightly less than those 9 3/8 nut grips. And the part number, some of you are excited now, it's 3726Z-280. I think a lot of you that are familiar with Koken will know exactly what this is. Z is going to indicate Zeal, 280 is going to be 280 millimeters in length, 3/8 is going to indicate the drive size, and if it didn't already dawn on you, perhaps the text that says Reversible Ratchet does. And, what it is just a reversible ratchet. It's the Zeal series. Of course, that's coming to 1.5 inch soon. It's 72 tooth. It's ridiculous on the back drag. It's just long. It's 280 millimeters, and that's exactly why I snagged it. This one I have absolutely loved. I have one complaint on it. I've had some people like say, hey, you know, did the switch bother you being backwards? Honestly, I guess I've had some, and I always just kind of figure out what direction it's going and flip it, and it's not something I think like, sometimes I do, but I haven't really. I'm sure now it'll probably start to bother me, but for the time I've had this, it doesn't. Apologies, I should have cleaned that handle off, I guess, but this is the 280 that we just got versus this guy, and you can kind of see why I brought it in, right? It's just a different size. Now, instantly, you can probably guess my complaints. It's going to be the handle. It's this ratchet, as much as I love it, especially for like a comfort grip or whatever you want to call it, padded handle, I need it to come up to my thumb, and I want this down here, especially if it doesn't come up the length I'd want it to. I need it to be bulb style, like a screwdriver. It's just, my hand swallows it, and then we painfully have to get smaller to grab onto the ratchet. It's just kind of a pet peeve of mine, but this thing has been awesome ever since I've had it. Again, this that was the mishap ratchet has been what really sold me on Koken. I was doing some stuff on the back of a Magnum, and this came in super handy. It was like the perfect size. Anything bigger wouldn't have worked. So when I stepped up, I wanted a flex head. The way their flex head works, this is non-locking. They don't make a locking that I'm aware of. It's got sort of a detent in it, and so it holds really well. There's just sort of that springed piece in the bottom, and unlike that Hazette that we've showcased recently that just flopped freely, this thing has some resistance on it. So while it doesn't lock, it sort of holds position, and this one is going to be no different. Obviously, here's our selector switch. Here's a listen to the tooth count. If you've never used a Koken ratchet, I highly recommend it. It doesn't have to be 72 tooth. If you get one of the Zeal, it's 36 tooth. They are phenomenal as well. Now, the extra length is going to come in super handy. That's honestly the selling point here. But if I zoom in and we switch to the gloved hand so you have a solid color, I think you can kind of see it down there. This is what I want you to pay attention to, sort of that ball. That's kind of what you see on the nut grip. Obviously, right here, this is like dimpled, okay? So it'll catch and stay. You can hear it click, in fact. That's it kind of locking in place, although obviously, I mean, you can hit it and it's going to spring out. But then what that does, this whole rest of the way, it's just kind of that balled end, it applies tension to it. So I can come in and we can put it down at about that angle, and we can shake it and note that it maintains that position. So this is kind of a cool feature for a non-locking flex head. I think this is kind of what you would want. Some people might honestly prefer the floppy head. That drives me nuts. I'm always tightening things or having to tweak them. So this to me is the money shot. Here it is with its smaller counterpart. Again, this one is what? is it 215? It might be 215, 7-inch, something like that. Heck, we got the old Stanley. Who am I kidding? Let's bust it out. So keep in mind this is going to be metric and this is not. So yeah, 7-inch ratchet, kind of your default run-of-the-mill 3/8 standard, and then this slightly longer. And it's going to come in at about 11 inches. So we're adding 4 inches, and what does that mean? Leverage, increased reach. If we grab the Stahlwille, which is my best 3/8 locking flex head, it clocks in at about 11 and a half, 11 and 3/4. So just a little bit longer than the Koken. If we put business end by business end to compare those two, again, you'll kind of see the difference here. Basically like a thumbprint, if you will. Looking at the head and mechanism, Koken could be slightly thinner. I'd have to get the calipers out, honestly, and I'm not going to do that. So that's it. This is another 3/8 drive Koken. I like that one so well, I wanted to get another one in a longer length. Maybe anything past that, I'd probably like go fixed head, just because that's a lot of leverage we could be exerting. So maybe we'll do that in the future, maybe we won't, who knows. We'll have to stick around and find out, because quite honestly, I don't know at this point in time. But I can now switch my packing list and go back to this, because we are going to have what I believe is our final item. Now, this was also pretty pricey, but I'm super excited about it. And it's actually not our final item, but it's the final exciting item. This is Koken's part number, RS3400MZ/12. Some of you, if you've been paying attention, RS, you know, is a railed set. That's correct. If you think /12 must mean that there's 12 pieces, that would be correct. Similarly, if you come in here and you look at the situation where we've got the Z, and you think, is this a Zeal? Did you finally get like Zeal sockets? We did. And the price point on these, it's pretty hefty at $127.12. The M would indicate metric. It's 7 to 19 millimeter, okay? And I had two things I didn't realize when I got it. Number one, there's the bag it came in. Number one thing I didn't know is that the 9 millimeter was excluded. Like when I see 7 to 19, I just kind of assumed it was there, especially since it's Zeal. The other thing is minor. Let me just kind of bring this eye candy down for you. I didn't know it came with like this super awesome rail, okay? I thought I was gonna get like some stamped steel deal, and that kind of throws off my plans a little bit. But if you couldn't tell what this is going to be 3/8 drive, okay? And it is going to be 7 through 19. They're clearly shallow, you're saying to yourself, and they're 6-point, so what's special about these? This particular application with the Zeal designation, these are super short, super shallow, extra shallow, you know, like nano, semi-gone, whatever you want to call them, stubby. They're just kind of the bare minimum. This is what gets you by. Now the other thing, this rail is super nice. So it's black aluminum. We've got pegs. I haven't pulled a socket off yet, so I can't speak on that. The pegs slide pretty easy. You'll note we've got the Koken branding there, which is awesome. You've got a foamed pad here, and if you couldn't tell by what it just did, it's magnetic, and it's a strong magnet because I've barely got any of it, and it's picked up a 9-piece set of 1/4 to 3/4 12-point sockets. And an extension that was draped across a lot of other stuff. So all kinds of things are happening there in the background. But this is kind of our payoff. What I want to do is come in, and since we've got it, we will just grab, let's go with the big one. We'll go with the 19. So this, if you wondered what this rail set was back here, it's 7 to 19, 8 to 19 I should say. And it is 3/8 drive shallow, but if you think back to some of the stuff I brought in, this is something I was super excited about, and it's surface drive. And what the surface drive is, it's not just like them saying like, oh look, we're gonna grab by the flats. The way this was advertised, and I haven't gotten to use this enough to know, but especially on like legitimately beautiful fasteners, this will protect the finish on exotic fasteners, but also painted fasteners. I can't tell you how many times I have to go and take the hood off something I'm working on, and it's never been off. and the paint is there. It might not be great paint, but it's there, and you put your socket on and it just chews the paint off. I've tested this and used it, but it seems to do fine, but I'm also dealing with fasteners that the paint has already come off of. So it didn't take more paint off, but I don't know if it would have taken paint off on a virgin fastener, if you follow. But this would just be their standard affair, 3/8 shallow drive setup. So if we come in and we grab this 19, number one, these are just going to be a peg, sort of like an Ulsa rail. So it's just going to slide. You've got the ball detent there. It's not twist locks, nothing crazy like that. We'll do a hold test here in a second. But this little guy right here, you can see the size designation, 19. You've got the Koken branding. You've got the part number, 3400 MZ. You got 214. You've got made in Japan. You've got matte and polished together. Sort of a Koken Hazette thing. You got the 6-point design. Let's compare. Again, this is not semi-deep. This is not deep. This is shallow. It's going to look like it's semi-deep when I hold this up to it. So I've got to say that is pretty cool. Now obviously there's some situations where this socket's not going to function at all, right? Like if you've got a deep head or something, you might have issues, or you've got like threaded rod and you're not going to be able to run it down. A deep socket would work. This will, on the flip side, go places that a standard length socket will not, and that's, again, kind of the selling point. It also, one of the big benefits is, picture this being paired directly to a ratchet, okay? So, if we take this guy and we slap her in, compare this profile here to this. That could easily be the difference in you getting this in and using a ratchet and a socket, which can be fast and efficient, versus spinning something free with the open end of a wrench and constantly repositioning. So is it something that I was excited to try? Yes. And in my opinion, even though they do the Zeal and metric in a series of different options, seemed to me like the best logical thing to do was to just grab it and keep it as a shallow, see what we think of it. Case in point, if we come back to these 3/4 over here, this is going to be the Zeal 19 millimeter, which is basically 3/4. This is a standard 6-point shallow 3/4. This would be the deep. Okay, we're talking like 3 Zeals to 1 deep. The other comparison we can do is come in and grab this rail, which is going to be the semi-deep. I'd say a Zeal is about 2 semi-deep sockets. So that was pretty sweet. Now the thing is, and the 127, you sort of help justify that one being 7 to 19, only skipping 9, 12 pieces. That's roughly like $12 a socket. But if you factor in that this is a nice aluminum rail that is magnetic with protection for the magnet, you'd easily value that at like $20. We'll just say 27, and then you got 100 in sockets, and that's like $8 and change per socket. So it starts to be a better deal when you realize that is there. However, our last item is right here. It is in this Koken bag. That's in a Koken bag. Let me see if anyone knows what I was doing here. This is 3410M-7, and what this is a 7 millimeter surface drive socket. And if you're thinking like, okay, surface drive, that's that stuff up there that you said was 8 to 19. And that is correct. So where the Zeal goes 7 to 19, but skips 9, this set of surface drive, interestingly enough, okay, went 8 to 19, but included the 9. And so I got the 7. And if you're like, well, why would you get a 7? Is that like used on the underbody of a, LX platform? Well, I believe it is, but this is why, okay, right here. I had this all planned out and was so proud of myself. What I was going to do seemed like such a great idea. So 7 to 19, okay, I was going to come in here and I was going to set this up, and we were going to run our surface drive in the back, sort of in place of like a deep socket, and then in the front row I was going to run the super stubby Zeal sockets. Now if you're thinking like, oh, you can totally still do that, man, I absolutely could, but I did not know I was getting like the awesome socket rail. So now I'm kind of torn on that, and I don't know, maybe like we come in on the next sale and I get like a deep or semi-deep 7 to 19. I'm not 100% sure really, I could do the surface drive deep. That kind of seems overkill for specialty, although you can use them. But like, I was so happy because I was like, I want to use this. I want to keep it in the Master Tech. What can I do? And you think like shallow and deep, and I was thinking stubby and specialty. Still seems like a good idea. It's just like, this is too nice of a rail to like not employ doing something, and since it's branded Koken, almost makes sense to just leave it like this. The black's gonna work well with the orange. So I don't know, just one of those deals, you know, like I had this really good plan, and we're gonna have to kind of like scrap it and get back to the drawing board, I guess. So it is what it is, I suppose. But anyway, I think that gets us caught up on Koken now, and I can get this stuff sorted in the toolbox. I'm super happy about that. Let me know what you would do with that orange. That's a prototype, by the way. That's like why I'm so bent on using it. Like, this is something special they sent out to me. If you missed that video, they don't make orange, but we're trying to get them to make orange, and this is sort of a prototype that they ran. I've got an SAE one too, and I wanted to do something cool with it more than just like the impact sockets. And everything's kind of in flux, kind of between MTS mag rail, Ernst socket boss, and these. I'm trying to like figure out how can I incorporate them all and do it to where each one is like functional and I'm getting to use it, you know, quite a bit. And this I thought was a super good idea. Like, I would just know that this was special. I had super stubbies, and then I had surface drive, and now with this awesome rail that came, yeah. Story of my life, right? But I'd rather have it go this way than the other way, I suppose, so I can't complain too much. But with that said, I had a good time here. I hope you did too. We bust out 2 Koken hauls. Of course, you'll probably see a couple things in between these getting released, but by that time, they probably released some new products, had some more sales, and some other stuff will be en route to Texas for me. So, got a lot of kind of just playing around and trying to figure out what I want to do, really. So I'm going to wrap this up, get back to that. Again, apologies on the interruptions and the noise. I've got a fan going, but then there's like go-karts and four-wheelers, and the later and cooler it gets, the more these people come out, because unlike me, they don't seem to have to work on Monday. So it's a strange world we live in, I'll tell you that much. But got the super awesome longer ratchet. We paired that with some Zeal stubbies, and then of course we came in and we picked up our Surface Drive 7 and everything from the previous haul as well. So foamed Wobble-Fix, can't argue there either. But let me know your thoughts on this stuff, whatever you have used, what your personal experience is, anything you want to talk about, what you would advise to do with the MTS and this setup here. But I will tell you right now, I'm about to go bust out something from Ernst and kind of fix some of this, but clearly it won't be the 7 to 19 stuff. So SAE, I know what I'm doing, but or I kind of know, keyword kind of. This I had the best of plans, but now it's like, how can you just like retire this rail? I can't do it. So is what it is. But this is my first set of Zeal sockets. Hopefully they'll come in handy for us and gives me maximum clearance. If we can't get the job done with these, it's back to a wrench, but we know that we gave it the best try we could, I suppose. But anywho, on that front, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little something. Maybe you found some things you're interested in here. Any of your thoughts are welcome. Just hit me up in the comments section down below. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all 3 at Lone Star Mopars. With that said, anything you want to talk about, any suggestions for organization or sockets we need to add from Koken, let me know in the comments. And with that said, I hope I catch you back here next weekend for more action from the shop.